The Babylonian map is the oldest known world map, dating back over 2,500 years, and even then, geography was more about perception than precision. Over the centuries, cartographers have created maps that challenge logic, some shaped by religion or myth, others bending reality to fit a political or artistic vision. From medieval monstrosities to maps that predict future supercontinents, these 15 strange maps aren't just about navigation. They reveal how different eras and cultures understood, controlled, or completely misunderstood the world around them. Some are scientifically brilliant, others are spectacularly wrong, but all of them are stranger than fiction. Number 15. The Upside-Down World Map. The most common world map, the one you probably have on your wall, is called the Mercator map. It was named after Flemish cartographer Gerardus Mercator and was designed in 1569 to help sailors navigate the seas. But once you look at this map, well, you start to realize it's got some serious issues, like how Greenland looks like it could body slam Africa, even though Africa is 14 times larger, or how Europe appears way bigger than it should be, while South America gets squished down like a minor character in a blockbuster film. Here's the thing, maps aren't just about geography. They shape how we see the world, and for centuries, the Mercator projection has been feeding us a North-up, Europe-centered worldview that's more about power than accuracy. There's no cosmic law saying north is up and south is down. That's just how European mapmakers decided to frame things back when they were busy colonizing everything. If you flip the map, you'll see that everything shifts. Like Australia isn't down under, it's just under. South America doesn't look like an afterthought. The whole perspective changes, and with it, so does the way we think about the world. Maybe it's time to stop seeing things from the same old angle. Number 14. The Pangaea map. Earth has been through a lot, wiped out, reborn, wiped out again, and somehow still standing. But have you ever wondered how Alfred Wegener managed to piece together a map of Pangaea, a supercontinent that existed 300 million years ago? How did he know where anything was? No satellites, no Google Earth, just scientific guesswork and a whole lot of stubbornness. The name Pangaea means all land, and for a while that's what it was. One big continent surrounded by a single ocean, Panthalassa. But nothing stays still on this planet. Around 200 million years ago, the land started breaking apart, setting the stage for the world we know today. The proof? Well, look at a map. South America and Africa fit together like puzzle pieces, and fossils of the same ancient creatures are found on opposite sides of the globe. Continents are still shifting, and in 300 million years, Pangaea might return. But let's be real, humanity might not be around to see the sequel. Number 13. The Earth Without Water map. Well, we all know we're doing our best to turn this planet into a Mad Max furry movie. But imagine if we actually succeeded. A topographic map of Earth without water isn't just some kind of drawing made by a kid, it's a brutal wake-up call. Without oceans, the world looks alien. Deep trenches carve into the crust, entire mountain ranges lurk beneath where waves used to be, and forgotten land bridges remind us of a time before we started cooking the atmosphere like a cheap microwave meal. And let's be real, 2025 isn't exactly giving us much hope. Wildfires aren't just seasonal, they're scheduled events. Storms are rewriting coastlines faster than developers can cash in. Half the time, it's either no rain for months or too much rain all at once, because balance is apparently extinct. We keep acting like Earth will fix itself, but at this rate, it will not. Maybe we should look at this map less as a curiosity and more as a warning. It's kind of a reminder that if we keep screwing things up, sorry for that, one day we won't need to imagine. Now, let's talk about some weird maps from the Middle Ages. Number 12, Itinerary map by Matthew Paris, circa 1250s. At first glance, Matthew Paris's Itinerary map looks more like a medieval storyboard than an actual map. But this 13th century creation isn't about landmass accuracy. It's about the journey. Designed as a visual guide for a pilgrimage from London to the Holy Land, it lays out castles, rivers, hills, and key stops along the way. The red text and blue waves act like medieval GPS markers, offering alternate routes and notable landmarks. In the bottom left, you'll find a miniature London, wrapped in thick walls with a blue church at its heart. But here's the catch. This wasn't a travel map to be carried on the road. It was a luxury object, likely used for an imagined pilgrimage, where one could trace the holy path without ever leaving England. Number 11. Tabula Peutingeriana. If Google Maps existed in ancient Rome, well, it would probably look something like the Tabula Peutingeriana. This 22-foot-long monster of a map wasn't made for navigation. It was more like a Roman Empire flex, showing off the vast road networks stretching from England to Sri Lanka. Forget proportional accuracy. This was about connections, with over 555 cities and 3,500 place names crammed in like an ancient subway map. The strangest part? This map is based on information that predates 79 AD. You can even spot Pompeii, meaning the data was collected before Vesuvius had its famous meltdown. The original has been lost to history, but thankfully, a 13th century monk painstakingly copied it onto 11 scrolls, keeping Rome's ancient roadways alive in ink. Would it have been useful for an actual journey? Probably not. But as a snapshot of Rome's reach and influence, it's a masterpiece of imperial cartography. All right, now, let's talk about Number 10. T.O. Map from Isidore of Seville's Etymologies. Imagine if the world was designed like a Trivial Pursuit game piece. That's basically the T.O. map, a classic medieval world map that splits the three known continents, Asia, Europe, and Africa, into a simple T shape, all enclosed by an O of water. Precision? Not the goal here. This was all about order, symmetry, and religious symbolism. At the top of the map sits Asia, while Europe and Africa share the bottom half. The Mediterranean, the Nile, and the River Don act as natural dividers, creating the T. But this wasn't just a lesson in geography, it was a theological statement. Medieval scholars believed the world was divinely structured, and these maps reinforced that belief. Of course, Jerusalem was the center of it all, and many versions even featured biblical Easter eggs like Noah's Ark or the earthly paradise. Accuracy? Well, who needs it when your map is a spiritual vision board? Humans know how to keep things wild. Number 9. Tabula Rogeriana. In the 12th century, Sicily was a crossroads of civilizations, ruled by Normans, shaped by Arabs, and influenced by Byzantines, Vikings, and Catholics. So it's no surprise that the most advanced medieval world map came from this cultural melting pot. Commissioned by Roger II of Sicily and created by Muslim scholar Al-Idrisi, the Tabula Rogeriana was one of the most scientifically accurate maps of its time. Al-Idrisi didn't just sketch coastlines from memory. He interviewed travelers, sailors, and scholars to create an unparalleled depiction of the world. But there's a twist. The South is at the top. To Al-Idrisi, North Africa and the Muslim world were the heart of civilization, so it made sense to place them at the top of the world. Number 8. Medici-Laurentian Atlas. While many medieval maps were theological fantasies, this one is surprisingly modern. Created in 1351 by a Genoese mapmaker, this atlas is built on practicality, likely influenced by Portolan charts, the highly accurate maps used by sailors navigating the Mediterranean. Unlike religious maps that placed Jerusalem at the center, this atlas prioritizes geographic accuracy. Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East are shockingly well defined, while Africa, though slightly distorted, is still recognizable. The reason? Sailors needed precision. These maps were used for trade and exploration, guiding ships through the Mediterranean and beyond. This atlas is a reminder that medieval cartographers weren't ignorant of real geography. They just made different types of maps for different audiences. Some were for spiritual guidance, others for actual navigation. Number 7. Anglo-Saxon World Map, circa. If you're looking for the earliest known realistic depiction of the British Isles, you'll find it in the Anglo-Saxon World Map, created in Canterbury between 1025 and 1050. But good luck recognizing anything else. This isn't your average medieval map. Unlike the standard TO maps of the time, this one breaks tradition and leans heavily into Roman influences, using ancient Roman province names. The British Isles sit tucked away in the bottom left corner, while Jerusalem, surprise, surprise, takes center stage. But the biggest twist? The top of the map isn't north, it's east. Before the 1500s, there was no universal rule about orientation, and many Europeans believed the earthly paradise, aka the Garden of Eden, was somewhere in the Far East. Number 6. Psalter World Map. If medieval mapmakers wanted to make a statement, the Psalter World Map is Exhibit A. Created in the 1260s, this tiny 6.6-inch map wasn't just a geographical guide, it was a sermon on parchment. At the very top, a massive looming image of Jesus watching over the world like a divine GPS. And if that wasn't enough, Jerusalem sits dead center, marked like a cosmic bullseye. But the wildest part? The mythical monsters hanging out on the right side of the map. These weren't just the fever dreams of a medieval cartographer. They were lifted straight from ancient texts, like Pliny the Elder's Natural History. He once described a North African tribe with no heads, just eyes and mouths in their chests. And medieval Europeans? They took that very seriously. Even the Red Sea is actually painted red because why not? In a world where maps were less about accuracy and more about telling a grand cosmic story, the Psalter map stands out as a bizarre blend of faith, legend, and a very creative take on geography. Number 5. Betis Map, circa 776. Medieval maps weren't just about navigation, they were theological road maps to the end of the world. Case in point, the Betis Map, originally drawn in 776 as part of Betis of Liébana's commentary on the Apocalypse. This wasn't just any world map, it was an apocalyptic vision, created to help Christians understand their place in the grand cosmic drama. At the very top sits the earthly paradise, featuring Adam, Eve, and the original troublemaker, the serpent. But this wasn't some gloomy doomsday map. It's packed with color and detail, with fish swimming through the world's waters, boats setting sail, and even palaces dotting the landscape. Multiple versions of the Betis map were made throughout the centuries, each one offering a blend of religious imagery, geography, and artistic flair. Whether it was meant to educate, terrify, or inspire, one thing's for sure. This wasn't just a map. It was a medieval vision of the universe. Number 4. Ebstorf Map, circa 1234. If medieval maps were about grandeur, the Ebstorf map is king. Measuring nearly 12 feet across and drawn on 30 goat skins, this behemoth from the 1230s wasn't just a map. It was a theological statement. At first glance, it follows the standard TO format, placing Asia at the top, with Europe and Africa below. But look closer, and things get surreal. Scattered across the map are hands, feet, and even a head. The body of Jesus himself, literally encasing the world. It's an artistic take on the medieval belief that the world was held together by Christ, reinforcing the spiritual order of things. Despite its religious significance, the original was lost forever in 1943, destroyed during a World War II air raid over Hanover. What remains is only a reconstruction, a ghost of a map that once captured both the known world and a medieval vision of the divine. Number 3. Da Ming Hunyi Tu Map, At 15 feet wide and painted on silk, the Da Ming Hunyi II, or composite map of the Ming Empire, wasn't just an artistic masterpiece, it was a statement of power. Created in 1389, it reflects a China caught between outward exploration and inward isolation. This was a time of transition. The Mongols had recently been expelled, and the Ming Dynasty was debating whether to engage with the world or turn inward. The map itself is a blend of cultures. While the central regions reflect China's internal geography, its borders contain Arabic place names, showing the influence of Muslim cartographers. The early 1400s saw the legendary voyages of Zheng He, who mapped distant lands for nearly 3 decades. But after his death, Ming rulers cut off overseas exploration, arguing that barbarian nations had little to offer. Number 2. Hereford Mappa Mundi, circa 1300. If you think medieval maps were just about geography, the Hereford Mappa Mundi will prove you wrong. Created around 1300 and housed in England's Hereford Cathedral for over 700 years, this massive map is a chaotic mix of history, religion, and mythology, all squeezed into a single piece of parchment. Over 500 illustrations fill the map, depicting people, animals, cities, and towns, as well as 15 biblical events. You'll find a fascinating mix of real places, religious landmarks, and bizarre creatures lurking on the edges, proving that medieval Europeans were just as obsessed with cryptids as we are today. But it's not just a map. It's a teaching tool, meant to help Christians understand their place in the world. Jerusalem naturally sits at the center, while the rest of the known world unfolds around it in a blend of fact, faith, and medieval imagination. Number 1. The McFarthest Spot Map. Logic is the study of correct reasoning, but this map, it defies all of that. The McFarthest Spot Map is a bizarre yet fascinating cartographic experiment that marks the point in the continental US where you're the absolute farthest from a McDonald's. That's right, no Big Macs, no fries, not even a rogue McFlurry machine in sight. This desolate point is typically found in the remote reaches of northern Nevada or South Dakota, where the nearest golden arches are over 100 miles away as the crow flies, and even further if you're stuck driving. For some, this is a nightmare scenario. For others, it's the ultimate testament to isolation. To find this elusive spot, map enthusiasts, or maybe just people with a lot of time on their hands, analyze detailed maps of every single McDonald's location and calculate the furthest point from any of them. If you find this video interesting, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.